March 2020, SolarWinds Orion update server. An attacker has been inside the build pipeline for months. They inject malicious code into the next routine software update. The build server signs it with the legitimate SolarWinds code signing certificate. The signature is mathematically perfect. 18,000 customers, including US federal agencies, the Department of Defense, Microsoft, FireEye, install the update. Their security tools verify the signature. Signature checks out. Trust the binary. The supply chain attack lives undetected for 9 months. The cryptography didn't fail. The math was perfect. What failed was the assumption that a valid signature means a trustworthy binary. Cryptography solves specific problems: confidentiality, integrity, authenticity. It does not solve the problem of an attacker who already controls the signing key. Today, Objective 1.4, Cryptographic Solutions. The most concept-dense objective in Domain 1, with at least 8 to 12 questions on it across the exam. Cryptography does 3 things. Confidentiality, only the right people can read it. Integrity, the data hasn't been tampered with. Authenticity, the message came from the claim sender, which combined with integrity gives you non-repudiation. Every cryptographic primitive in this objective serves one or more of those 3. When you see a question, your first reflex should be, which property is this protecting? Encryption, confidentiality. Hashing, integrity. Digital signature, integrity plus authenticity. Get those 3 reflexes solid and the rest is detail. PKI, public key infrastructure. The framework of hardware, software, policies, and procedures that creates, manages, distributes, and revokes digital certificates and key pairs. The 2 keys, public and private. Public key is shared openly with anyone. Private key is kept secret by the owner. Memory rule, public key, anyone can use it. Private key, only the owner. Public key encrypts data to the owner. Anyone can encrypt a message that only the owner can decrypt. Public key also verifies digital signatures. Private key decrypts incoming data and creates digital signatures. Get the directions wrong on the exam and you'll fail half the crypto questions. Public encrypts to. Private decrypts from. Public verifies. Private signs. Drill those 4 directions until they're automatic. Key escrow. A backup copy of a private key is held by a trusted third party. Purpose: recovery of encrypted data if the key owner loses their key. Risk: the escrow holder becomes a high-value target. If compromised, every escrowed key is exposed, used for lawful access by law enforcement and enterprise key management. CA hierarchy: root CA at the top, self-signed, often kept offline for security. Intermediate CA is issued by the root, signs and entity certificates, lives online. An entity certificate is what we see in browsers, issued to users, devices, servers. The reason the root is offline: if the root key is compromised, every certificate ever issued under it is suspect. Compromise an intermediate, you lose what it signed. Compromise the root, you lose the entire trust hierarchy. That's why root keys live in an HSM in a safe in a vault, signed in a ceremony with multiple witnesses. Symmetric encryption. Same key encrypts and decrypts. Fast. Suitable for bulk data. Problem: how do you securely share the key in the first place? The classic key distribution problem. Algorithms ranked by what you'll see in the wild. AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. Current gold standard. 128, 192, or 256-bit keys. Used in WPA2, TLS, BitLocker, File Vault. Anyone deploying new symmetric crypto in the last decade picked AES. 3DES, triple DES, is legacy, deprecated, slow, runs DES 3 times. Avoid in new systems. Cha-Cha 20, Stream Cipher, 256-bit, used in TLS 1.1.3, performs well on mobile where AES hardware acceleration isn't available. The exam will pick AES as the right answer roughly 9 times out of 10. Asymmetric encryption. Key pair. Public and private mathematically linked. Slower than symmetric. Used for key exchange and digital signatures, not bulk data. Solves the key distribution problem because the public key can be shared freely without compromising the private one. Algorithms ranked. RSA, most common, 2048-bit minimum, used for key exchange, signatures, certificates. ECC, elliptic curve cryptography, shorter keys, same security as RSA 2048. 256-bit ECC is roughly equivalent to 372-bit RSA, preferred for mobile and IoT because the math is cheaper. DSA, digital signature algorithm, signatures only, not encryption, less common than RSA or ECC in modern deployments. The exam keyword, short key, high security, mobile or IoT. Answer is ECC. Hybrid encryption is what actually runs the internet. The trick, use asymmetric to securely exchange a symmetric key, then use symmetric for the bulk data. TLS works exactly this way. Client and server use RSA or ECDH to establish a shared symmetric key. All subsequent data is encrypted with AES. Best of both worlds. Security of asymmetric for the key exchange, speed of symmetric for the data. If the exam asks how HTTPS protects a session, the answer is hybrid encryption, not just RSA. The RSA only protects the handshake. The bulk traffic is symmetric. This is the single most asked crypto question on the exam. Know the flow cold. Key exchange algorithms. Diffie-Hellman lets two parties establish a shared secret over an insecure channel without ever transmitting the secret. ECDH is the elliptic curve version, more efficient, used in modern TLS. The ephemeral versions, DHE and ECDHE, generate a new key pair per session and discard it. This gives you perfect forward secrecy. PFS means even if the server's long-term private key is compromised tomorrow, past recorded sessions cannot be decrypted because each session used a unique ephemeral key. Anyone who has handled a TLS audit in the last 5 years knows PFS is non-negotiable. The exam keyword, past sessions safe even if the long-term key is compromised. That's PFS, achieved through ephemeral key exchange. Encryption levels, how granular the encryption is, full disk, the entire drive. BitLocker on Windows, File Vault on macOS, requires the key to even boot. Partition, a specific partition. Volume, a logical volume like a VeraCrypt container. File level, individual files like EFS, the encrypting file system, or PGP encrypted files. Database, entire database, transparent database encryption, TDE. Record or field level, encrypting just the SSN column or the credit card column. Field level is the most surgical and the most useful when only a small subset of data is sensitive. The trap question. Your laptop is stolen, the disk is BitLocker encrypted, your data is safe. Yes, because of full disk encryption. The exam will ask you to map a granularity to a use case. Pick the level that matches what's described. Hashing. One-way function. Produces a fixed length digest, used for integrity, not confidentiality. You cannot reverse a hash to get the original. If the input changes by a single bit, the hash changes completely. Algorithms. MD5 is broken, 128-bit, do not use for security. SHA-1 is deprecated, 160-bit, vulnerable to collision attacks. SHA-256, current standard, part of the SHA-2 family, 256-bit. SHA-3, newer, different internal design from SHA-2, variable output from 224 to 512-bit. NTLM, Windows password hashing, 128-bit, legacy and vulnerable. Bcrypt, 184-bit, password hashing with built-in salting. The exam will hand you a scenario and ask which hash to use. New design, SHA-256, password storage, Bcrypt or Argon2 or PBKDF2. Avoid MD5 and SHA-1 for anything security relevant. Salting, a random value added to the password before hashing. Each user gets a unique salt. Identical passwords produce different hashes. Prevents rainbow table attacks because pre-computed tables are useless when every hash is salted differently. The salt is stored alongside the hash in the database. It doesn't need to be secret. It just needs to be unique. Key stretching intentionally slows down the hashing process to make brute force harder. PBKDF2, password-based key derivation function. 2. Runs the hash many times. The iteration count is the slowness factor. Bcrypt, adaptive cost factor, increases iterations as hardware gets faster. Argon 2, winner of the password hashing competition. Memory hard, resists GPU attacks. If you're storing passwords today, the right answer is Argon 2 or Bcrypt, not raw SHA-256. Anyone who has ever cleaned up a credential dump knows the difference between fast hashing and slow hashing is the difference between an attacker cracking 10 million passwords in an hour or in a year. Digital signatures provide integrity, authenticity, and non-repudiation. The flow: sender hashes the message, encrypts the hash with the sender's private key. That encrypted hash is the signature. Sender sends the message plus the signature. Receiver decrypts the signature with the sender's public key to recover the original hash. Receiver hashes the message independently, compares. If they match, integrity is confirmed and authenticity is proven. The sender cannot deny signing because only they have the private key. The exam will absolutely ask which key signs and which key verifies. Private key signs. Public key verifies. Get that backwards and you fail the question. The reason it works: only the holder of the private key could have produced a signature that validates against the matching public key. Notice this is the inverse of encryption. Encryption uses the recipient's public key to encrypt, the recipient's private key to decrypt. Signing uses the sender's private key to sign anyone's public key copy of the sender's to verify. 2 flows, 2 directions, 4 key uses. Hardware security. TPM, Trusted Platform Module. A chip on the motherboard, stores cryptographic keys, enables measured boot, supports BitLocker. Tied to one computer, relatively low cost. HSM, Hardware Security Module. A dedicated, external, high-assurance device for cryptographic operations. Stores CA keys. Handles payment processing. FIPS 142 or 140 to 3 certified. The high-end answer when you need maximum assurance. KMS, Key Management System, software platform for managing key lifecycle. AWS KMS, Azure Key Vault, Cloud Native Key Management. Secure Enclave, isolated processor area within a main chip. iPhone Secure Enclave for biometrics. Face ID, protects keys even from the operating system. TPM versus HSM is the most asked exam question in this group. TPM is on the motherboard, 1 per device, cheap. HSM is dedicated, external, high assurance, expensive. If the question asks about the highest assurance and money is no object, the answer is HSM. Obfuscation techniques. Steganography, hiding data inside another file. Embedding a secret message in a JPEG or audio file. The data is concealed, not necessarily encrypted. The exam keyword: hiding the existence of the message. Tokenization, replacing sensitive data with a non-sensitive substitute token. Credit card number replaced with a random token in a transaction system. Original is stored securely elsewhere. Token is meaningless without the lookup. Used heavily in payment systems for PCI DSS compliance. The merchant never stores the real card number, only the token. Data masking, partial visibility, showing only the last 4 digits of an SSN. Asterisks in password fields. Useful for support staff who need to verify identity without seeing the full sensitive data. Key distinctions. Encryption transforms and is reversible with the key. Tokenization replaces and the original lives elsewhere. Steganography hides existence. 3 different problems, 3 different solutions. Blockchain, distributed ledger, copies maintained by every participant, no central authority. Immutable, once a block is added, it cannot be changed without invalidating the chain. Each block contains data, a timestamp, the hash of the block, and the hash of the previous block. That chain linkage is what makes tampering detectable. Change any block and its hash changes, which breaks the chain. Consensus mechanisms, proof of work, proof of stake, ensure agreement on the valid state. Use cases, cryptocurrency, supply chain tracking, Smart contracts, certificate transparency. The security property the exam tests, tampering with any block is detectable because hashes break. Don't get distracted by the cryptocurrency hype. Blockchain on the Security Plus exam is about distributed integrity. Digital certificates bind a public key to an identity, vouched for by a CA. The X509 standard is the format for all modern certificates, contains the public key, the owner identity, which is the subject, the CA identity, which is the issuer, validity period, serial number, and the CA's digital signature. Validation levels, DV domain validated, confirms domain ownership only, gets you a padlock. OV, organization validated, confirms domain plus organization identity. EV, extended validation, rigorous identity verification, formerly the green bar in browsers. Certificate revocation, CRL, certificate revocation list, periodic list of revoked serial numbers downloaded by clients, can be outdated. OCSP, online certificate status protocol, real-time status check for one certificate, more current than CRL. OCSP stapling, the server attaches a cached OCSP response to the TLS handshake, faster and more private. Special types, wildcard cert covers star.domain.com, but not the apex domain itself, and not subdomains like a .b.domain.com. SAN, subject alternative name, one cert covers multiple distinct domains. Self-signed, no CA. Vouches for it, signed by its own private key, browsers don't trust it by default. CSR, certificate signing request. What you submit to a CA to obtain a certificate contains your public key and identity info. Here's what goes into your exam runbook. 1. Cryptography does 3 things: confidentiality, integrity, authenticity. Map every primitive to one of those. 2. Symmetric, same key, fast, bulk data, AES. Asymmetric, key pair, slow, key exchange and signatures, RSA and ECC. 3. Hybrid encryption is how TLS works. Asymmetric exchanges the symmetric key, symmetric does the bulk. 4. Hashing equals integrity only, one way, cannot decrypt. 5. Digital signature equals hash encrypted with the sender's private key, verified with the sender's public key, provides integrity, authenticity, and non-repudiation. 6. Public key encrypts to, private key decrypts from, public verifies, private signs, memorize the directions. 7. TPM is on the motherboard, HSM is external and high assurance, FIPS 140 certified. 8. SALT prevents rainbow tables by making identical passwords hash differently. 9. Key stretching with bcrypt, Argon 2, PBKDF 2 slows brute force. Argon 2 is the modern winner. 10. Tokenization replaces, encryption transforms, steganography hides. 3 different problems. 11. OCSP is real-time, CRL is periodic, OCSP is more current. 12. Wildcard cert covers star.domain but not the apex and not subdomains. 13. ECC gives same security as RSA with shorter keys. Mobile and IoT preferred. 14. PFS requires ephemeral key exchange, DHE or ECDHE. Pass session safe even if long-term key is later compromised. 15. Key escrow is the third-party backup of a private key, useful for recovery, dangerous if compromised. 16. MD5 and SHA1 are broken, never pick them as the answer. Next up, Domain 2 begins. Objective 2.1. Threat actors and motivations. We move from the controls and the math into the people on the other end. Nation-state actors, insider threats, hacktivists, script kiddies, the competing motivations that determine whether the attack on your network is a smash and grab or a quiet 6-month dwell. Bring your threat intelligence brain. See you there.